Hello everyone and welcome to Percona Live 2021, and I hope everyone is enjoying this live event. Modern day applications can go through sudden unanticipated growth, and a lot of times DBS, application developers and DevOps spend a lot of time stabilizing the applications to provide consistent seamless experience to end users. And today in this session we are going to talk about how to stabilize your applications under sudden exponential growth. And my name is Sai Kondapalli. I'm a MySQL Specialist Solutions Architect at Amazon Web Services. I help customers migrate and optimize their workloads using RDS MySQL, RDS MariaDB, and Aurora MySQL. And this is how the high level agenda looks like for today's session. And in the next 30 minutes, we are going to talk about what hyperscaling is and introduce you to our relational database services. Then we are going to talk about other aspects of fine-tuning your databases, such as handling a large number of connections coming from your application servers. And we are also going to talk about segregating your read workload and write workload so that you get optimal performance for your application queries. We are also going to look at some other best practices from a database management perspective, such as schema management and optimizing your schemas so that you get better performance when your applications are scaling tremendously. We are also going to look at tuning your write workload and read workload so that you get better performance at very high concurrency. So we have a lot to cover in the next 30 minutes, and without further ado, let us go ahead and deep dive into hyperscaling using RDS MySQL and Aurora MySQL. Today, you have businesses that can grow at a sudden, unanticipated, and substantial rate. Rapid sustained spikes can be attributed to your application being mentioned on the front page of a widely read news site, or an old clip suddenly going viral, or a sudden shift of customers compelled to shop online due to pandemic. With the spike, the normal growth trajectory of the application infrastructure suddenly goes into an overdrive, and a number of factors can contribute to this growth trajectory, where you see substantial user growth, more data being captured and added to backend systems. Businesses going from local to global, and these businesses don't want to dilute user experience and would like to have minimal latency for applications. As more devices connect to the application, request rate increases substantially. So, in context, what does hyperscaling mean from an application and a database perspective? And so, hyperscaling is the ability to scale your applications and infrastructure and databases as more demand is added to the system. Hyperscaling your systems also provide you with a strong construct to design a scalable distributed system. Today, we are going to focus on Amazon's relational database service and how our database services can help with your application's hyperscaling needs. Amazon Relational Database Service was built by AWS as a way to help customers reduce the complexity in supporting critical transactional applications by making it easy to set up, operate, and scale a relational database in the cloud. RDS automates time-consuming administration tasks such as hardware provisioning, database setup, patching, and backups while providing cost-efficient and resizable capacity. It frees you to focus on your applications so you can give them the fast performance, the high availability, security, and compatibility that they need. RDS is available on several database instance types optimized for memory, performance, or I/O, and provides you with six familiar database engines to choose from. Amazon Aurora compatible with MySQL and Postgres. And on the open source databases, we have MySQL, Postgres, and MariaDB. And on the commercial databases side, we have SQL Server and Oracle. Amazon Aurora is a MySQL and Postgres compatible relational database built for the cloud that combines the performance and availability of high-end commercial databases with the simplicity and cost effectiveness of open source databases. Aurora has 5x the performance of standard MySQL and 3x the performance of standard Postgres, with the security, availability, and reliability of commercial grade databases at one-tenth the cost. When your applications scale exponentially and go into overdrive, as a solutions architect, we can help you with architectural patterns, picking the right instance type and size, choosing the right storage type to get optimal performance for your workloads, as well as assist you in tweaking and tuning your workloads so that they scale better in short term to handle the application growth spurt from a connection handling, load distribution, schema management, and tuning write and read workloads perspective. Managing the connection count should be a high priority when scaling your MySQL instances. One of the earliest symptoms of application getting scaled is when you start seeing a growth in user base, which then translates to a large number of connections on the application side and then on the database side. As the workload scales and sends large number of connections to the database, this could exhaust memory and other operating system structures such as file descriptors required to maintain the connections. When more front-end traffic comes into a site, usually the first thing that happens is the application tier starts the autoscale. More application servers are added to handle the new load, all configured the same way with a pool of database connections. For example, if 20 application servers, each configured with 200 database connections connected to the database, that is a total of 4,000 database connections. If the application pool scales up to 200 instances, for example, during your application peak load hours, the total connection count will reach 40,000. Operating system and MySQL Server will both allocate an in-memory descriptor for each user connection. Aurora MySQL typically uses less memory than MySQL Community Edition to maintain the same number of connections. However, memory usage for idle connections is still not zero, even with Aurora MySQL. Please see that different MySQL versions allocate different amounts of memory. Example, MySQL 5.7 stores more descriptor structures in memory and 8.0 yet more. This isn't typically an issue when connection counts are reasonable, but can lead to faster memory exhaustion on newer versions. The general best practice is to avoid opening significantly more connections than you need. You can also control the number of incoming connections allowed to your database with two server configuration variables like max underscore connections and max underscore connect underscore errors. In addition, when you see behavior such as your application servers opening a storm of connections to the database, you can control the behavior from your database side using parameters such as back underscore log so that the application connection storm are handled efficiently on the DB side without the database getting overwhelmed. When a scaling event adds more application servers, this in turn may cause the database server to exceed fully loaded active connections number. Addition of a connection pool proxy between the application servers and the database acts like a funnel, reducing the total number of connections on the database. A proxy's main purpose is reuse of database connection by means of multiplexing. On one side, the proxy connects to the database with a controlled number of connections. And on the other side, the proxy accepts application connections, providing additional features such as query caching, connection buffering, query rewriting, routing, and load balancing. The connection pool layer needs to be configured to keep the max connections to the database below the fully loaded number. Proxy SQL, MariaDB MaxScale, ScaleArc, and Heimdall Data are examples of third-party proxies compatible with the MySQL engine. AWS has a managed proxy service called RDS Proxy, which serves similar purposes. And when your applications are scaling at an exponential rate, and when you would like to handle the connections efficiently between your application servers and the database, having a proxy tier is helpful so that you can handle as many application connections as possible at the proxy tier, yet maintain a good number of connections between the proxy tier and the database engine. While you can scale a single database to a maximum size from a compute perspective by adding more virtual core CPUs and more memory, and similarly, you can scale the storage by providing maximum bandwidth with highest IOPS available in a storage class. At times, your workloads are still constrained by the boundaries when taking this approach. And you can achieve better performance for your workloads by scaling horizontally by segregating write and read workloads. In RDS MySQL and Aurora MySQL, you can supplement your existing workloads by adding more replicas to your database instances and segregating writes to the primary and reads to the read replicas. Provide an efficient way of handling workloads during peaks. A read replica's primary goal is to relieve pressure on your source database. So you got a write node, you got the main database, and you're finding you have extra load on the source database. So instead of scaling up the source database, you might want to create read replicas to sort of offload some of the workload. And you can deploy read replicas in different regions too, so that you can bring your data close to your users instead of those users incurring latencies to read from the source database in a different region. And they also serve the purpose of disaster recovery. You should target reads that are not dependent on immediate read after write consistency for read replicas. Even better is to move all read traffic to the replica and plan for retrying the read after write in the event of replication delay, since MySQL uses asynchronous logical replication between the source database and the replica databases. And at times, there are independent read workloads which can be easily offloaded, such as reporting services. Other reads will change at the application level where the context of why the read was issued is well known. Aurora read replicas work the same way as RDS MySQL does, with load segregation between the source or the primary and the read replicas in Aurora. However, in case of Aurora, having a distributed storage system, the replication lag between the primary and replicas is much more predictable and can vary within few milliseconds between the primary instance and the read replica instances. Additionally, Aurora clusters can support up to 15 read replicas in a region, and across region can support additional replicas through global database deployment. For hyperscaling workloads that are unpredictable in nature or have predictable spikes, Aurora can support auto-scaled reader instances where you define certain dimensions to monitors, such as your CPU utilization and number of database connections. And auto-scaling can automatically add readers during spikes and remove additional readers during low workload periods. Even with the implementation of Aurora and RDS MySQL, when you're segregating your workloads between writers and readers, it is still a good practice to implement a proxy approach so that you can have the uh, read and write segregation being done at the proxy layer. Besides doing above changes, such as vertically scaling up your instances or horizontally by adding more readers, taking care of connections and other approaches like proxy layer to funnel the traffic between applications and databases, you can also benefit by fine-tuning the workload to sustain at higher concurrency and large amount of traffic coming into the database. Database design is critical for application success. It determines if your application is scalable, if it will perform well. So much integrity and success relies on database design that you don't want to disregard its importance. Good logical and physical design is the cornerstone of high performance, and you must design your schema for the specific queries you will run and your application will produce. This often involves trade-offs. For example, a denormalized schema can speed up some types of queries, but sometimes slow down others. Adding counter and summary tables is a great way to optimize queries, but they can be expensive to maintain. MySQL supports a large variety of data types, and choosing the correct type to store your data is crucial to getting good performance. In general, try to use the smallest data type that can correctly store and represent your data. Smaller data types are usually faster because they use less space on the disk, in memory, and in the CPU cache. They also generally require fewer CPU cycles to process. Some bad examples of picking data types for your columns, such as, for any universally unique identifier stored as char, varchar, etc., as well as dates and numbers being stored in char, varchar, is not an optimal representation of your data in the engine. Primary keys should be as small as necessary. Prefer a numeric type because numeric types are stored in a much more compact format than character formats. This is because most primary keys will be foreign keys in another table as well as used in multiple indexes. The smaller your key, the smaller the index, the less pages in the cache you will use. Primary keys should never change. Updating a primary key should always be out of the question. This is because it is most likely to be used in multiple indexes and used as a foreign key. And updating a single primary key could cause ripple effect of changes. Do not use your problem primary key as your logic model primary key. For example, passport number, social security number, or employee contract number, as these primary keys can change in real world situations. On surrogate versus natural key, use the same rules as just spoken. If the natural key is small and will never change, it can be used as a primary key. If the natural key is large or likely to change, use surrogate keys. If there is no primary key, still make a surrogate key because it shows that your tables can have better schemas, and having a better primary key in place will have better and optimal design for your schemas and tables. Sometimes, when we first build applications, we may never imagine the table will reach 2 billion rows. Some choose a signed 4-byte integer for the data type. All table primary keys need to be checked for this scenario in a hypergrowth scenarios and switch to 8-byte integer columns when you're anticipating that your data is going to grow substantially. Partitioning design considerations. Now, think about a scenario where you have a database and data objects that are well defined and well designed, and now the data in the tables is growing at an unprecedented rate. And even with best design principles applied to your data, you still see that some of the queries are not performing optimally from time to time. And when your production workload deals with extremely large tables, partitioning is a great method to improve database performance and ease maintenance. Partitioning makes it easier to manage large tables by giving the capability to easily add and drop partitions. It also helps in scaling the engine by alleviating internal structure contention like internal logs per table or per index. For example, by adding 5 partitions, you essentially are breaking a very hot table into 5 smaller, more efficient tables. This would mostly be beneficial in cases where the main operation is primary key lookups on the table, where the queries can take advantage of partition pruning. But it can also be beneficial in terms of table scan. Please be aware that while partitioning has its benefits, it also imposes some limitations, such as foreign keys are not supported for partition tables, lack of query cache, etc. Sudden spikes of traffic in the application can lead to resource contention on the database layer. Applications communicate with databases by establishing connections which consume memory and compute resources on the database server. Many operations in a database can happily overlap with each other. However, there are several situations that require synchronous operations like read and write contention, index updates, checkpoint operations, or log writing. One fast and easy way to reduce the overhead on the database server is by distributing the load between writers and readers instances to reduce stalls, context switches, and resource contention. High IO usage in databases can be an indicator of poor data access patterns. Unused indexes can have a negative impact on performance as they consume disk space, cache, and slow write operations for inserts, deletes, and updates. As table data is modified, the indexes also need to be updated. Unused indexes unnecessarily consume storage space and increase the backup size. Collect information to ensure that the index is not used. You don't want to inadvertently remove an index that is perhaps critical for a query that is run only quarterly or annually. If you can anticipate a peak, consider tuning the parameters InnoDB IO capacity, InnoDB IO capacity max, because these two parameters define the overall IO capacity available to InnoDB. The parameter should be set to approximately the number of IO operations the system can perform per second. The value of InnoDB IO capacity max cannot be set to lower than the value of InnoDB IO capacity. Systems with large write workloads are likely to benefit from higher settings. Lower settings may be sufficient for systems with a small write workload. Again, these parameters are dynamic in nature in RDS MySQL and they do not require a reboot. In MySQL, as changes are made to data pages, they are cached in the buffer pool. The changes are then returned to the data files. InnoDB implements a checkpoint mechanism known as fuzzy checkpointing, and InnoDB flushes modified database pages from the buffer pool in small batches. This is done by background threads to avoid delaying foreground threads by using InnoDB IO capacity. The general query log records client connects and disconnects as well as all statements received by the server in the order they were received. When enabled, logging is synchronous, which can lead to substantial performance penalty on a busy system. Unless required, it is advised to disable the general log. Similarly, the slow query log records statements that took longer than long query time seconds to execute, with the default setting of 10 seconds. When the setting is set to 0, all statements are synchronously logged and can lead to performance penalty on busy databases. If slow query logs are required, configure the appropriate long query time so that you do not inadvertently log in all the queries from the database. In InnoDB's implementation of MVCC, when a record is modified, the current version of the data being modified is first recorded as an undo record in an undo log. A growing history list length value indicates that InnoDB's garbage collection threads or purge threads are not keeping up with write workload, or that purging is blocked by a long running query or transaction. When garbage collection is blocked or delayed, the database can develop a substantial purge lag that can negatively affect query performance. Some recommendations here are to keep transactions small and for read queries use read committed isolation level or increase the number of purge threads using parameters InnoDB purge threads and InnoDB purge batch size. Of course, these are static parameters and they require a reboot. And continue to monitor the history list length on a regular basis and resolve any workload issues that prevent garbage collection from progress. Binary logs contain information about data modifications made to a MySQL Server instance. They are used primarily during database recovery process and secondarily in binary log replication. When binlog is enabled, MySQL needs to copy all transaction data into the binlog on every transaction commit. The copy to binlog can take a long time if the transaction has large amount of data. Running a server with binary logging enabled has a slight performance impact. Aurora MySQL does not use binary logs to replicate the data in a cluster, and Aurora is designed to recover from a crash almost instantaneously and continue to serve your application data without the binary logs. If you do not have any external replication configured with Aurora or any other change data capture use cases such as write-through eventing into streams, it is recommended to disable binary logs to achieve high write throughput. In RDS MySQL, if backups are enabled, binary logs are automatically enabled. Consider relaxing the parameter sync underscore binlog to a value of 0, and it's a dynamic parameter so it does not require a throughput. This will increase transaction throughput greatly in most cases. However, if your system experiences a crash, there is a chance that the last statements in the binary log could be lost. It should be used as a temporary change as you're trading durability for performance in the short term. Tuning read operations is more along the lines of best practice and should be undertaken in any application, but especially applications that are prone to spikes. It is less likely that these suggestions will be practical to implement under sudden extreme load, but they are most likely to have the biggest long-term impact on the health of the system. Index condition pushdown is an optimization for the case where MySQL retrieves rows from a table using an index. Without index condition pushdown, the storage engine traverses the index to locate rows in the base table and returns them to the MySQL server, which then evaluates the where condition for the rows. With this condition enabled, and if parts of the where condition can be evaluated by using only columns from the index, the MySQL server pushes this part of the where condition down to the storage engine. The storage engine then evaluates the pushed index condition by using the index entry, and only if this is satisfied, then the row is read from the table. This condition can reduce the number of times the storage engine must access the base table and the number of times MySQL Server must access the storage engine itself. Indexes are organized as B trees. In a clustered index, the leaf nodes contain the data pages of the underlying table. Secondary indexes have the same B tree structure as clustered indexes, and they can be defined on a table or view with a clustered index or a heap. Each index row in the secondary index contains a non-clustered key value and a row locator. This locator points to the data row in the clustered index or heap having the key value. So any lookup involving a secondary index must navigate starting from root node through the branch nodes to the correct leaf node to take the primary key value, and then execute a random IO read on the primary key index to get the data row. Using a covering index, we avoid this extra random IO read on the primary key index to get the data row because all fields required by the query are included in the covering index. This is beneficial for IO bound workloads and cached workloads. So as a best practice, leverage the covering indexes because they are smaller than reading all the rows and can fit in the memory. The execution cost and execution time for database operations may not be known for a portion of queries on the system, creating unpredictability or volatility. The size of statements and transactions, as well as the associated resource utilization, continues to grow together with the underlying dataset. End user statements and transactions take longer and longer. They consume increasingly more resources until they overwhelm the database server. If the number of threads is unbounded, the long-term behavior of the system can be easily predicted. When using unbounded processes or queries, it is advised to configure parameters max execution time, so any queries taking longer than this time in milliseconds will be aborted. Please note that this parameter is available in MySQL versions 5.7 and later, and since it is a dynamic parameter, it doesn't require a reboot. Having a large dataset and only needing to fetch a specific number of rows is the reason limit clause exists. It allows to restrict the number of rows in a result returned by SQL query statements. Pagination refers to the process of dividing a large dataset into smaller parts, and the ability to send data to the user faster by fetching a whole dataset by small pieces at a time is one of the benefits of using pagination. When you are using pagination along with offset and order by together could make the pagination non-functional returning in rows, random orders, and unexpected rows on each page. And this is because if multiple rows have identical values in the order by column, the server is free to return those rows in any order and maybe so differently depending on the overall execution plan. In other words, the sort order of those rows is non-deterministic with respect to the non-ordered columns. Today in this session, we have discussed why and how applications go through sudden unanticipated growth and ways to sustain that growth from a database, infrastructure, and workload perspective. Thank you again for taking your time and attending today's session on hyperscaling with RDS MySQL and Aurora MySQL. Enjoy the rest of your sessions here at Percona Live 2021.